At the edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Holy cow. It's Tuesday. It's March 28th. It's 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. That must mean it's time for a serious Star Trek. That means that it's party time in engineering. And now to join me in all the fun, let's bring in the captain of fun. And we're trying to decide a great nickname for the Doctor. So maybe you guys in the chat can help us do that today. But let's bring in Captain Fun and Doctor Who. Doctor Who.
I love that it's not just like, oh, the Doctor of Fun, because I don't have fun.
You're not the Doctor of Fun. You're
not
a lot of
fun.
things. You're not the Doctor of Fun.
Nah.
Although maybe because like I've always said about like a joke, it's like a frog. You can dissect it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not going to be funny again. I feel sometimes like you've dissected Star Trek so much that maybe
it's not fun.
You can't enjoy it. You definitely can't enjoy it at the level you originally did. I don't think anybody can. But
that's a really good observation. That might explain why I hate watching Star Trek now.
Well, this is the thing, but
I can't. But like for fun, I watch old Star Trek. Like, yeah, I watch Voyager all the time.
I don't hate,
I
don't hate Star Trek. I hate some of the stuff they do, right? It's just bad luck for modern Star Trek that it seems like it's the Spock's brain quotient is a lot more for them. Yeah. Walker and I were talking, and I was like, who's in the background? If you'll see him, he's doing some 3D printing. So it's mildly distracting, but I'll try to forget it.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Anyway, we were talking about something. I forget what we were talking about because I'm so excited. Strange New Worlds is coming June 13th or 15th, something like that. So I was going to wear my Lower Decks uniform because Price is going to take over the rest of the show. He's got shit to say about Lower Decks. But then I was like, hey, you know what? While I'm listening and pondering new information from the Doctor of Fun, who has none. I figured I'd Strange New World it up because there's some stuff we should talk about their little Blu-ray thing.
Verified.
We were talking about this behind the scenes, but I'm worried there's two ways Strange New Worlds goes. And maybe they do both, but like they either lean into that campy stuff with more than like from the first season, and that was the worst stuff. That was really not great. Or they sort of take us somewhere new and show us something really like show us the next generation. I don't want to say the next generation, the next generation of special effects for old school Star Trek stuff. Like show us something cool. Yeah. I was saying to John, like, I'm now comparing every week. I watch The Mandalorian, I watch Picard, and I watch The Mandalorian like back-to-back nights. And it is so head and shoulders. Mandalorian is such a more of a kiddie show, but it's just so like on such a more epic scale than any Star Trek thing we're watching. Seems to me anyway.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that a show called Strange New Worlds didn't really do Strange New Worlds that much.
And I didn't a little bit.
I didn't really mind the campy stuff that you got upset about because, my favorite episodes have the American flag fight and, Apollo's green hand and Space Lincoln, so I'm pretty down with Star Trek doing that. So the princess thing with Hemmer's kid, that's that didn't really bother me. It bothered a lot of other folks, but I'm down with whatever they do.
I like the new Comet people race thing that they introduced.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was pretty cool. That kind of stuff is what I want to see.
Agreed.
Sorry, John. What were you? Sorry, Doc. Are you muted?
He needs a bone.
John, you muted yourself. Sorry.
We should have little flashcards that hold things up going, check your microphone. And then it's like
Your mic is not connected, it says, John. This is when we get deep and we talk about John, guys. Can I tell you my gripes about
Oh, he kicked out even.
He'll be back. Anyway,
I have no gripes. So, well, do you want to talk a little about that duffel bag thing? Because that's kind of painless. Or there he is. Well, we'll send him back in. Is it working now, Poe?
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. I
want them to do exploration on Star Trek. Star Trek: Strange New World should be about going to a strange new world every single week.
And I have to say, if I never hear that Captain Pike is going to die in 10 years thing again, I will be fine. And just wait 10 years and fucking kill him, right?
They need to never talk about Juan Noonien Singh ever again. They need to reassign the guy playing a Vulcan. Just get him out of there. I think they call him Spock.
Remember. Oh,
just get him out of the show.
Legit did not know the character you were talking about.
Bring back, because he doesn't look like Spock. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't even look Vulcan.
Bring back Rebecca Romaine and have her and fucking Anson Mount go on adventures. That's it. That's the whole plot.
Well, they kind of are set up to do a lot of what you just said for the next season. So
hopefully.
Except for Spock, right? He's in it.
I don't know. We just said all the stuff we don't want to see, and you just went, "That's set up for that." I'm like, like I don't want to see like ongoing mysteries that don't matter, right?
No.
And so I'm with John. Like that whole jail thing with number one.
It's going to be awful.
Stop it. Just stop.
It's going to be awful.
Yeah.
As long as that's not a season-long arc.
It will be.
It's going to be half the season. You know it will be. Because then it's the triumphant return.
Well, and look, to their credit, they're getting better at structuring. So, like, if this was Discovery, if season 1, the whole season would be about that stupid plot. So I expect them to do, like, bits and pieces here and there, but it'll still go on the whole season. And it's stupid.
Verified.
Anyway.
Yes. So Strange New World, and then
I didn't realize there was this kind of hate for that new Mr. Spock. I thought he was okay. I thought it was.
I can't stand him. A lot of people like him. I can't. He has no chin. Leonard Nimoy has a very strong face.
I'm really halfway to 2/3, like not caring, because what are you gonna do? He's as good as anybody else. But once again, the new guys have told me so much shit about behind the scenes, I kind of don't give him a chance, right? And it was the Discovery thing was terrible. So he just, like all modern Star Trek, it kind of starts off on the wrong foot with me.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't like the stuff that it brings up is the retconning. Like, well, if Spock was there for this, it would have changed everything already.
Right.
There's so much of that, and there's so much more coming. And now they're bringing back his brother and the unknown sister and the whatever.
Oh yeah, and they had that whole episode about like T'Pring or whatever. Like, no, just go on adventures. Like, how hard is it? Go on adventures.
I kind of like the T'Pring thing on paper, right?
No,
like you have to see her every 7 years because that's how it works, right? But they just did it in such a stupid 90210.
They made her like a sex pot, like
like
it was the weirdest thing.
They're
Vulcans, man.
The old T'Pring though, she was crazy hot.
Yeah,
so
I'm not saying she's not hot. Right? I'm just saying, like,
oh, I see, like as a Vulcan.
Yeah,
but she's there for her every 7 years thing, right?
Yeah, but like the character, the way she was characterized was this like free, like she wasn't. Anyway, it doesn't.
It's weird. It's
coming back.
She was the more sexual when she's fully Vulcan, and where you would think maybe Spock would get a little bit of like human horniness going on or something that would freak her out, or I don't know. I would almost
terrified.
Would be the other way around.
That's coming back, and then Lower Decks is coming back over the summer. So presumably they're going to be back to back to back like they always do. Late summer is going to be Lower Decks, and then Prodigy is going to be the end of the year. You know, like winter time.
Whole cycle of Star Trek.
Presumably, yeah.
And even cycling through the seasons of our lives as well. Like there's the child Star Trek, and then
bathing suit Star Trek,
all the way up into what I thought we were here to talk about, to the sunset years of Star Trek. Like
nobody wants to talk about that.
No.
What happens when the actors get too? What happens when when Brent Spiner gets so out of shape? They're just like, no, we can't even pretend he's.
You know what's an interesting thing that's happening in Star Trek fandom about the old guy thing is what happened on I don't know, John Santre's show. I don't know those guys. Mitch is something. They're all talking about how, you know, they can't believe that John and me and you like have something to say about season 3 of Picard.
Negatives.
And it's like
a lot of
they're like, well, how can you hate that show? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I get it.
Anything that I could say would be unkind.
I get it as in comparison to the first 2 seasons. You have to love this and like it more and stuff. And
yeah,
I came in with an open mind, and it literally nosedived. Like from the first episode, every episode got worse and worse to me. And this episode 6 was.
Everybody going, oh, the first 6. I saw the first 6.
For me, that's the problem.
Killed it. I was like,
the problem
really?
was the hype. Yeah, the hype machine killed it, because I understand like you have good intentions. Like, yeah, I want to get people to watch it because everybody agrees season 2 was a fucking shit show and everyone hated it. So we want to get people to watch it. We want to get these influencers on board. I understand all that, but like they set a stupid, unreasonable bar that everyone saw through immediately. And was like, why are you raising the bar so high? This is dumb. This is never going to do this. I do have some interesting thoughts later on about Picard that might break the world. But,
why are you waiting?
Yeah, why are we?
Because I don't know how to word myself.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Okay, well, gather your thoughts, John.
I'm dying to talk about this fucking Blu-ray thing, and it's not that long. So if you want to,
Blu-ray thing?
You are the Strange New World Blu-ray Cozumart thing, and you're up to date, so you can kind of like take notes even for what you want to say, and I won't be offended.
Okay,
but this is quick. It's gonna be less than a minute. What the fuck?
Let me wheel Jean-Luc back into the closet for a second.
Thank you, because I was, you got the 2 bald old guys next to each other. I was feeling a little persecuted.
Captain Fun, you have the con. Please tell us about.
This is cool.
Tell us about the Blu-ray Cozumart scandal.
Still, friend. Anyway, so the Strange New World Blu-ray is released this week. Right on, right? I mean, I got Paramount Plus, so I don't really need it. I can watch whatever Strange New Worlds I want. Unless they had cool, I don't know. I should check that out. I'm just out of the habit of buying Blu-rays of Star Trek because Discovery blows.
What could they offer on there that would entice you? Because I used to love DVD extras, but that seems to be a thing of the 90s or something, because it's so minimal.
They were advertising 100 hours of extras. That's what they were advertising.
So there is stuff on there, but but your point is correct, Dan. My friend Nick Tierce and I talk about this all the time because we're crazy process junkies. And so I would buy stuff of movies that I could talk along with just for the stuff on the the back matter stuff. And Nick says it's just too expensive to produce, and there are not enough people like us that are buying it for that alone, right? So it's extra work and not enough return.
Yeah, I get it.
But anyway, but
I guess the enticement, they don't even need an enticement, because the enticement is just own it so that you can actually watch it when you want, and they're not playing a shuffle game with the ownership rights between the streaming services of the stuff you want to watch.
Yeah, right, exactly. So anyway, it comes out and they do the thing. They send out a big swag bag to journalists and reviewers, and so you go, hey, use your position to tell everybody this is out. And so usually there's just a bunch of junk, Star Trek toothpaste and stuff like that. But they put the Blu-ray in, and they had it's an old repurposed Spirit Halloween Clinton gray-haired wig And that's like, so you're supposed to wear that with this shirt. So, but you guys know these are bootleg eBay shirts from China that we get off, eBay. but it's on the down low, right? Yeah. And
for real, it's not licensed.
Legit. They are not licensed, and they make a lot of money. And you kind of wonder why they let this go on. And whoever put their swag bag together, it's a little duffel bag, has a giant logo on the side. That's great. It's got your Blu-ray and this wig, and there was a couple other things, but I didn't retain any of it because front and center is this shirt with the Cozumart tag still on it, right? So whoever put this together can't be CBS. It has to be some third party or something. Because
some PR intern is putting together some list of whatever.
Right.
And look, they pick the best bang for their buck, the best looking thing for the cheapest price.
Geez, man. Or, they do have an arrangement with CBS, and that's cool. Like either way, I was very pleased because we love these uniforms, and I keep waiting for the hammer to drop, and it doesn't. Right? They're like, oh, hey, that Monster Maroon update from Strange New Worlds. Yeah, it's a 2-month wait, but we haven't done a prototype yet. They just literally showed it on TV, and we're working on it. So,
do you have
that's fantastic?
Do you have the packaging handy, Larry? Because does it say Star Trek on it?
No.
Does it?
It comes in a big Ziploc bag that has a witch and a pumpkin on it. Yes. And it says Cozumart Halloween or something. Right?
Yes, it does.
So their little tag is more like, I don't know, it's like a anime character or something. But the package is pretty funny.
That is wonderful.
It's like they had some Chinese supplier firm of some kind had like this thing, and they printed a bunch of stuff, and they were like, well, we'll give you this for free if you give us your logo and put the logo on it and give us some other business. And they're like, oh yeah, fantastic. Because otherwise I don't understand why the witch of that and the pumpkin are on the back. Anyway.
All right. Hey, so I kind of like this format. This is kind of cool.
Format. Yeah, this is a Cozumart.
The
Very
shirts
nice.
They do are just fantastic.
So as some of you may know, I went to GalaxyCon this weekend. Me and the chief science officer wearing our Lower Decks uniforms. We were the only people there wearing Lower Decks uniforms, and I preached the gospel of Cozumart to everyone I saw, including people in the booths themselves. I was like, yeah, dude, you got to get yourself one of these. I know you can afford it. I just paid you more than that to do this, but yeah. So I got to meet William Shatner, take a picture with him. That was pretty cool. That was kind of my whole purpose of going.
Pixar didn't happen, Doc. Come on, where's
there's some, I don't know, there's somewhere else. I got hold on. I got a whole thing.
We met John clearly didn't know that we'd be interested in a picture.
Yeah, why would we want to see that?
Why would we?
We met Chekhov. We got a nice hug picture with Chekhov, who looks like a tiny little scarecrow. He's pretty funny. And Frakes and McFadden. But they were behind a plexiglass, I guess, and it was very awkward. And Gates McFadden is crazy skinny. She is like a toothpick. I don't know. I've clearly never met them before. Like, she is like a toothpick. And Jonathan Frakes not that tall. Not gonna lie. That's a joke because I'm like 6'4".
I was gonna say anyone compared to you.
Anyone compared to me is not.
Oh, really?
I also
John's like 7'3", 7'4".
Yeah. I met Jason Inman, who I've been a big fan of his. You guys know Jason Inman? He's a comic book guy. I've been friends with, or no, I haven't been friends with him. He used to be on Collider when they did like original broadcasts for a couple years, and I saw him. He was friends with like John Schnapp and Robert My Burnett, friend of the show, and they would do these shows. And so he actually did a comic book called Jupiter Jet, and I know Suntress has interviewed him. So I got this. This is the second of.
It won the Ringo Award.
I basically talked myself into it. I was like, hey, I liked your comic book. He's like, why don't you buy one? I'm like, okay. And then he signed it. It was very nice. To John, live long and Ritos.
Nice.
It was very nice of him.
You should show the cover. That's an award-winning book. It won the Ringo Award.
This is really nice. It's a fun story. The first one I haven't read it in a while. It was a couple years ago, but it was a fun little story. Ringo. And then
that means something to us and nothing to John.
It means literally nothing to me.
Ringo's it's a big deal. There was a artist named Michael Ringo who died of cancer at a young age.
Not named after the drummer?
No. And it's Mike, and everybody in our age in comics knows Mike Ringo. So whenever I see somebody want a Ringo, I was, fuck yeah, you did.
yeah. But he's a really cool guy, and we'll come back to that story in a second. I also met the Inglorious Trexperts, Mark A. Altman, Darren Dockerman, and Ashley E. Miller. They were there, and they made me an honorary Trexpert.
Nice,
as you can see.
Yes.
I didn't even have to pay them or anything. It was pretty good. And then they signed their Inglorious Trexperts thing. So it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time. And
where was this located?
This is in Richmond, Virginia, GalaxyCon Richmond. And so we saw Shatner talk, and he rambled for an hour, and he said borderline inappropriate things to little girls. It was very Shatner. It was pretty great. It was pretty amazing.
Talk for an hour?
I don't know, almost an hour, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't keeping track of time. I was just mesmerized by the man.
Is he still got the magic? Is he like?
Oh my God, he still got it. He still got it. And then we all sang him happy birthday. They brought out a cake. We all said, I did one because that's
awesome.
The first picture we took, it was at 11 a.m. It was the first picture. I think the first one was like some Arrow guy. I don't give a fuck. But the first one was Shatner, and we were like 8th in line because I'm like, dude, we have to go here first. Like, this is literally the only reason we're going here is to get a picture with Shatner. And we were like 8th in line. It was pretty awesome. So he was running a little late, but we still got in there. And he just sits there. He's like a little Buddha. Because he's got his pose. He wants to look exactly the same in every picture. So he's got his pose, and he was next to plexiglass. So we went up and I said, "Happy birthday, Mr. Shatner." And then when it was over, he said, "Thank you," and we walked away. It was good. It was good times. But
you know, you're not conveying how awesome that must have been. Just that small interaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
You made my life.
If you did that to like your neighbor who's a bus driver, you'd be like, "What the fuck ever?" Like, that was William Shatner. Like, holy shit!
I'm very, very happy that happened.
The only bad thing is Jess has a William Shatner story now, and I don't.
She has a better one because I turned away when he said thank you, so she actually saw him say thank you.
Oh.
Hers is way better than my story, but
she doesn't care though. That's why I'm upset. Like, I don't have a William Shatner.
It's pretty hilarious. Well, she was wearing. She's a scientist, of course, so she has a blue lower decks uniform that she was wearing, and everyone kept coming up to us and be like, "Hey man, cool uniforms. Where'd you get them?" And she would just like what? Turn to me and be like, "You talk.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Talk now." It was great. And then for Frakes and McFadden, I said, "You guys are doing a great job in season 3 or whatever I said," but because of the plexiglass, like, I don't think they heard me, and it was weird. It was very awkward. It was a very awkward picture. I don't really like that one, but
that's awesome.
Anyway.
But tell us about Jess, because, you know, we all have normal people that have to put up with this.
She's pretty cool. What do you want to know? She's a Gemini.
No, dude, going to the show, like, that was her first con, right?
Yeah, it was my first con too.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys are adorable.
There was so much anime. There was so much anime stuff. Anyway.
You wore cosplay to your first con. That's so cool.
It's not a Star Trek. It wasn't a Star Trek convention. This is a year.
No, it's GalaxyCon, so it's like everything. Yeah. They had, like, I swear half the convention was just like cosplay related, like, stuff. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time. And we went to there was
like that in the Bay Area, Larry, right? Wasn't there? Like,
GalaxyCon is a national one. Yeah, it's national.
I've never seen that in the Bay Area personally, but do you ever go to that kind of stuff in SF?
Me?
Yeah, I mean, ever since WonderCon.
Yeah, I mean, like the last one, I think I went. I don't know if it was an Ape or a WonderCon I think WonderCon was like, I don't know when they moved to Anaheim, but I haven't been since it went down there.
Yeah, long time. That was top tier.
we went to Adam Savage's and Waz's first San Jose one.
Yeah,
and that was cool. But that was a little try hard, and it was a lot of tech guys doing tech stuff, and I didn't care at all. I was like Jess at that thing. I'm like, really? Mimi, that's a question for you, I guess, right? But so that's why I'm like dying to know, because we all have normal people in our lives, right?
No, I think she had fun. It was long. Awesome. It was a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I mean, it was very crowded, obviously. And like, she was just astounded by how many people were there, and like how many people were like wanted to be there. Like,
right,
you know,
right. They didn't lose a bet or something like she
right,
did.
right. And actually, I think she got kind of like side-eyed at one point, because she walked by. And I didn't hear this happen. It would have gone down much differently had I heard it happen. But we were walking by and someone was like, "Oh, Trekkies." And I would have punched the guy in his face like Captain Kirk just told me to. I just met Captain Kirk. You don't expect me to not punch you in the face?
Right.
But she told me that later. I was like, wait, what happened? Yeah.
It was some dude in a stormtrooper.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's some anime guy cross-dressing or something. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're probably right, because the world is different. But back in the old days, there was like a fun rivalry like that, right? Like I was at a con and I'm wearing some Star Trek shirt, and the full-on Klingon guys start walking by and they're like, "Out of my way!" And I'm like, "You Patak!" And they stop, and you know,
see, that would be fun. Yeah.
So maybe he was doing that, like, "Oh, Trekkies."
There actually wasn't that many people in Star Trek gear. There was a couple guys with like Picard style stuff. There was nobody in Discovery style stuff.
Right.
There was a couple people in TOS, couple people in TNG, and then us in the lower decks. And that was pretty much it.
How much of a percentage of it would you say roughly was like anime, manga?
Minimum 50%.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Minimum.
That's cool.
And especially in terms of participants, in terms of like the booths. It was a lot of the same thing in all the booths. It was a lot of weapons, a lot of weaponry for sale, like fake cosplay weaponry.
That might be a Virginia thing.
That might be a Virginia thing. I don't know, you know. But it was interesting.
Well, because I just feel like that used to be a niche. It was always there. Anime and manga stuff were always there at comic book conventions, and sci-fi conventions, always there. But always a minority, always like a slice of what it was, unless it was specifically anime. And now
everybody
over.
Everybody you would consider young who was dressed up in cosplay was anime. Like, I don't remember seeing anybody who I would consider like a young person, and they're not like it was something else. There was a lot of so what's his face? David Tennant was there. There was a ton of Doctor Who people. Because David Tennant was there, but other than that, I mean, it was mostly anime.
Oh, the dudes with giant swords, like just way. Swords.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
And women. I mean, it was a lot of women, like a lot of young women dressed up in anime. But anyway, so I got to get to the story. So, the Trexperts were hosting a couple of different panels. They hosted one with Terry Farrell and Nana Visitor, which I really wanted to see, but it was at the exact same time as our picture with Frakes. And what are you going to do? Stand up Frakes? I don't think so. So I didn't get to see that one. But they did host another one. It was just marketed as
that kind of looks like us.
Trexperts Live or whatever it was, right? So we get there, we get into the thing, and special guest star Terry Metalis.
Oh my God.
Doing his first convention ever. Now there's an Asterix. He is on the view screen. He's not physically there. Of
course.
But his first convention ever is GalaxyCon Richmond. And I was there. And I got to ask him a question because it wasn't that many people in the room, because it was just a regular old Inglorious Trexperts panel. It wasn't like Shatner or Terry Farrell or anything. It was just Inglorious Trexperts. Anyway, so I got up and I promised that I would not make a scene. And
did you say that?
I had to promise the chief science officer that I would not make a scene.
Okay. I thought they were making you do that before they gave you the microphone.
No. They didn't know who I was at first. We'll get to that. That's the second part of the story. Yes, Terry Metalis blocked you. But
they don't
I
have
finally
facial
I came up,
recognition they could have. They
Shit,
could
that's
came
John
up
Price.
with a G-rated question. I was like, oh, where do you think what ship do you think Mariner's commanding during Picard or whatever? Everybody laughed. Everybody thought it was a good question. Like multiple people commented, that was a funny question. I'm like, okay. What I wanted to ask you was, why do you hate me? But anyway, so after the panel, we go to the Trexperts booth. We go to the booth because it's like almost the end of the day. Like we go to the booth. They're like, we got 2 more hours. We got to be here contractually. So we got to be here. So I go over and it's just us and them. And I talk to them for like 15 minutes and about basically, and Altman, Mark A. Altman, to his credit, does, once I told him who I was and like relationship to Larry and stuff, he's like, oh yeah. Like, I know you, your tweets and your writing and all that. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool thing right there. So we talked about Picard and why, I just needed the validation that they understand why we are cynical about this. And that's what I got. They're like, look, we get it. We understand why you're cynical about this, but we wanted you to trust us that we knew what we were talking about and that this was going to be good. So it was a good conversation. It was a fun conversation. But here's the thing. Terry Matalas, not an asshole. Terry Matalas, definitely a Star Trek fan. Terry Matalas, definitely the right person to keep making Star Trek.
Oh, cool.
And
you're blocked.
Yes, exactly. When you listen to him speak in terms of like, and he's able to kind of give you winks and subtext, and yeah, I couldn't just rewrite the book. I had to work within these parameters, but at the same time, we have to do this, and we can explain this away, and we can do this, and we can do this. He is absolutely well, I don't want to say absolutely, but he definitely won me over.
That's cool.
I said it last week too.
Is it cool?
It's
My mind is
because all of that is what I want to. Now, stay the fuck off of Twitter, Terry.
That's the thing.
Fucking problem.
That's the thing. He needs to get the fuck off Twitter.
If you had said all that before Picard season 3, then I'd say that's kind of incongruous with your.
Yeah, he would have had access to the 6 episodes if he was talking like that.
Yeah, right. There you go.
And I understand because like they all knew him or had a chance to talk to him before they watched the episodes. So like he was able to give his perspective and his limitations before they saw the product. And this is the point I was making to Altman. I'm like, Altman, like you guys know this guy, you understand the process. I'm just a history teacher who comes home and watch Star Trek before I go to sleep. Like there's a huge difference there. And like he's like, yeah, well, we want you to trust us. I'm like, I understand that, but at the same time, I'm not going to. So
right, we don't.
right. But it's suspicious when all of you are saying basically the same exact thing. And like he explained, I mean, to his credit, he got questions about Kirk. Why is Kirk's body there? And he's like, yeah, I thought it was really disrespectful that at the end of Generations, they just left Kirk's body. He's the greatest hero in Federation history. Why wouldn't you go save his body? And he's like, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything with it. Maybe some other writer will do something with it. But like, and at the same time, you got Dave Blast, the fucking asshole over here. No one would know these things because so many of the things people are complaining about are background noise. If Dave Blast wasn't out there showing these pictures in high resolution detail, like the second the episode airs, no one would even know half this shit. Right. Yeah. So that's another part of this whole thing. And to his credit, I mean, Terry Matalas, he didn't say this, but it was very, very heavily hinted that basically because they knew season 3, they made a direct comparison to season 4 of Enterprise. And you guys know what happened on season 4 of Enterprise, Larry. I know you're a big fan of season 4 of Enterprise. The studio didn't give a shit anymore, so they stopped micromanaging.
Oh, is that how that happened?
They made a very heavy implication that the studio knows this is the last episode, this is the last series of Picard, so they don't give a shit anymore. Here you go do it. We're not going to give a shit anymore. We're over here doing Strange New Worlds.
That tracks.
Akiva Goldsman is not involved. Kurtzman is not involved. Like, you know, and he was like, look, I got on, because one of the other big criticisms is, you know, Terry Matalas was the showrunner of season 2. He's all, you know, and it was shit. He's like, well, you gotta, there's a couple things going on there. And he explained it. To his credit, he explained it. He's like, look, season 2 was already like in production when I got brought on. They named me a showrunner and then immediately kicked me off to go do season 3. I wasn't involved in most of season 2.
Right.
And then season 2 had its own issues because it was during the middle of COVID. So like you literally had entire plot story parts that were reshot multiple times over this and that and this and that. Like it was a mess because it was literally a mess. So, you know, but yeah, Terry Matalas, he explicitly said at one point, he's like, look, the constraints of the story are it has to be 10 episodes, it has to be in this universe, like it has to, if I made a Star Trek from scratch, this is not what I would make.
Yeah, right.
I would make TNG season 8. You know, he didn't say that part, but like that was what he was implying. Like, this is not the Star Trek I would make. This is Star Trek I'm making as a best case scenario for this story.
Which totally tracks is totally like what I was saying was they responded obviously to what the negative feedback, and they completely pivoted in a way that everybody kind of knew was right to begin with. Honestly, it felt like what we would have expected out of Picard, and they really did kind of surprise us. They had a chance to have something a little different and expand the style and of storytelling, but not this time.
Yeah.
Now it's back deep into nostalgia, and we got Geordi, we got Data, it was just an overwhelming motherload of just we got a Riker Worf salty interaction sequence, you know, like there was a lot of stuff that I like, but a lot of stuff to hate too. It's just
I will say
down.
Yeah, I know. I will say, and the chief science officer brought this up immediately. She was like, he is way too defensive. He needs to just own what he does. Like, because there was a couple times during the interview when he was just like, yeah, this is a decision I made and we did it. There was a lot of other times during the interview where he was like, this is a decision made because we got to do this. And he acted very defensive about it. And it came across that way. And part of that is probably because he's getting shit on Twitter because he's Twitter.
Of course.
He doesn't know how to do the social media.
No,
you've been trolling him relentlessly, John. We know that.
Social media part he needs work on. But they walk through all of the movies, all the original movies, and how like those influenced him and everything. And he's like, look, I completely understand the Wrath of Khan comparison with the kid. But, and he gave a bunch of bullshit reasons why it's not the same, which they're not good reasons. But anyway, and then when he got to Generations, he was like, look, I mean, again, he didn't say, I don't like Star Trek Generations, but he did heavily imply that he does not like Star Trek Generations. And this was his attempt to kind of undo the problems of Star Trek Generations. Like, for example, why is Kirk's body just rotting on a Viridian 3? Like, why not go save it? Go save his body, right? I
tried to say this when you brought that up before. Like, isn't Viridian 3 like in the Nexus?
That's a whole thing.
I gotta watch that movie again.
So I kind of rewatched a couple episodes with that point of view where he is trying to fix things within constraints. And I think the Data thing makes more sense in that respect. Where he's trying to, this is my opinion now. He's trying to retcon what the synth thing is that they introduced in season 1. Because remember, in season 1, synth just meant android. Like Data android equals synth, right? I think he's trying to retcon it, and now a synth is like a combination android human thing. And that's what New Data is.
And that's what Picard is.
Right? Exactly. That explains the looks. That explains the whole thing, right? I think so. Philo T. Buzzworth, you have a very good. Well, I won't say you have a very good point here, but It is interesting that, you say crow for one, as if, I am eating crow or something. And I'm not eating crow, because it's like I said to Altman. I said to his face, I'm like, look, this interview humanized him to me, because I don't know this guy, right? All I know is that he's linked to this process that I hate. He's linked to this show that I hate. And, you all want me to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But now I actually got to hear the guy give his story, and he wasn't bullshitting. He very clearly, came across as someone who is trying the best he can to do what he thinks is the right thing, as opposed to some other people in the CBS Paramount family who get on there in interviews and be like, oh, I remember watching Star Trek as a kid. I loved Mr. Chewbacca, So yeah.
Well, and we like plenty of what he's doing.
And that's the other thing, my reviews has a good, bad, and the ugly. The good section is always really big. It's always a really big good section. The bad section and the ugly section are mostly ships.
People remember the negative. There's a negativity bias. Mm-hmm. And let's get to some of the negativity. Let's
do it.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Jack Crusher.
Speaking of negative.
So he's got space herpes, right? And what is Aromatic Syndrome? Tell me is that a real thing that I should remember? Or that's just a Picard?
No, Aromatic Syndrome is the thing that they made up for Picard during TNG.
Oh, okay.
During TNG, it's a thing that Picard was diagnosed with.
It's a legit character thing.
Yeah, okay. It's a thing.
And it gives you the flashbacks and turns you into a super ninja.
It's space.
That's not what Aromatic Syndrome does. Aromatic Syndrome just kills you. What is happening to Jack Crusher is it's called the Upside Down.
And they stole it from Stranger Things.
Yes, and they stole it from Stranger Things.
So, did you hear my theory about that? I think that Jack Crusher got drunk on shore leave sometime and boned a changeling.
Nice.
And that's what happened.
I like that.
And that's why and that's why they need him and Picard, because there's something with the Aromatic Syndrome that they can get to pull their changeling stuff away from Jack Crusher's sperm.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Well, speaking of changelings, I think we're confirmed now Vladek is a changeling. She's a changeling. It's an army changeling. It was kind of ambiguous in the previous episode, but it's confirmed now.
I am confused as to whether her little minions are changelings or not.
I feel like the aliens, you mean?
The little bird face guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are.
They're just alien schmucks, right?
But I think that at one point they said we're all changeling. I don't remember. But yeah, she's definitely a changeling. I don't understand the cutting off your hand bullshit, but that's a whole other story.
If you can look like anything, you want to look like that. That's what I don't. I'm not saying that actress, but her teeth, they're all messed up, and the character. Yeah. I hate.
They're clearly all fucked up. It's implied that they got the Section 31 disease during the Dominion War and never got the cure. But I think there's probably something else going on. I'll be honest with you. I think there's something else going on. They're all fucked up.
Why give Jack Imodium D syndrome or whatever if it's not part of the solution of the
right? Of the thing? Yeah, and that's going to be the solution. The solution is they cure Aromatic Syndrome, which allows them to reanimate Picard's body. And Picard takes the Enterprise D, which is in Hangar Bay 12, and he takes it out and he goes, second star to the right, straight on till tea time.
Make it so.
Well, and
that's going to be the last line. And he's going to be crying and pulling out like an alien or something for the conspiracy.
Speaking of sperm.
Ouch.
Yes.
Philo's got it. That guy playing Crusher would make a better Kirk. I agree 100%. It's just crazy because our friend Kevin Kamarley looks exactly like him. And I was like, hey, they cast that guy just so Kev could have another killer cosplay. And he goes, I only do cosplay about characters I care about. I was like, dude, that hurt me through my computer. That was such a burn.
But it is kind of terrible that the main character is awful.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It also gave him another reason to be shitty to Picard. Like, because you also gave me this fucking disease, old man. Starfleet, so and so, and they're setting up an arc too of like, have you considered joining Starfleet, young man, and like setting up him coming back as like the bold new Starfleet young buck.
Can we take a quick side to talk about this legacy idea that
I was literally just thinking that. I'm like, when everybody pauses, we have to talk about legacy.
Yeah, look,
for sure.
I assume the end of the show, 7 of 9 is going to be a captain, right? And I have no issue whatsoever with the Geordie LaForge daughters, whatever. I have no issue with 7 of 9 being a captain. I do not want a Titan fucking series, and I sure as fuck don't want a Titan series called Star Trek Legacy. Like, what an awful name. All right, Larry, your turn.
Oh, same thing. I was just going to hit their being much, much more bitter about their being creatively bereft. Where my thing about, like, I got this from George Carlin, that average means something, that there's above and below, and there's average. So, like, everybody we know, half of them are below average because that's what that means.
Right.
And I feel that I never feel it in my life at all, ever, except talking to fucking Star Trek fans on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And all these guys are like, oh, really? Your guys are doing a great job. And I like the Titan A, and we need to have all of these B characters because that's a fun thing that we're really happy and we want to support you. It's the last fucking thing they should do. Star Trek is not about legacy. It's about looking forward and strange new worlds and boldly going. And if you fucking pull all these people from, like, oh, here's some guy that's related to him that none of the audience gives one shit about. Like, did you care that there was a Jack Crusher? No. You care Geordie got married and had 2? No. But half the people are like, well, I guess this is Star Trek now, and I like Star Trek, so I gotta like this.
So there's a very bad Twitter account that's trying to do. It's actually, I don't fault the person. They're trying to do a fan fiction of like a Twitter version of like a fan fiction of the TOS era, and it's an interesting idea in terms of like medium storytelling. Like it's an interesting idea. But the second the fucking USS New Jersey NCC 1975 came out, he's like integrated it into his fan fiction, and Terry Metalis retweeted this guy and was like, "See, this is good fandom. This is a fandom that says yes and as opposed to no, never." And like, of course, that blew up too. And it's like, no, bad ideas are bad ideas. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like you're saying, there's nothing wrong with these secondary characters remaining secondary characters.
Exactly.
No, they should put them all in the series and call it Star Trek Fan Service. And then they dedicated a whole episode to like the young Ferengi kid from Deep Space Nine or whatever. And like, they can pull on all the deep cuts.
So Chris Sagasag
has actor died horribly of cancer. So
whatever.
Choice.
I'm sure they can deep fake him. I'm sure that he signed as a state over. Sagasag has a thing here. Legacy is a bad idea. I bet it's either under pre-production or they have the first 6 episodes ready to go. Here's some more insider info, backsider info. They are currently not making any new Star Treks. Terry Metalis does not at the moment work for Star Trek or Paramount. So for the last year, since this has been done, he does not work for them. Because they don't have like a sequel in place. So this is his attempt to get a job, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. The other side of this is they blew, Picard first. Picard season 3, one of the reasons it looks kind of cheap sometimes, that you reuse the same sets, like the bar set, which is actually the holodeck, which doesn't make any sense, is because they blew all their money on the actors. And they're like, look, let's just fucking go with it. This is Hollywood. This is showbiz. Let's just go with it, right? Blew all our money on the actors. The actors are more important than whatever. So
yeah, how else are you going to get Gates McFadden in? And
fair enough. And then Paramount created an entire Section 31 series. They wrote an entire series and then threw it out because Michelle Yeoh got too big.
Good. Whatever killed that show, I'm happy.
So we're talking about Paramount losing money. They created they wrote out an entire, they did all 10 episodes.
That's the
Section 31 show.
But that's the least amount of money. That's what you want. You can do.
I'm just saying, like,
dude,
they've gone down these routes.
There's a whole Star Wars show called Underworld. The same exact thing. All these big shots. You explore it and you read the script and you go, that doesn't work. So that actually fills me with happiness. Like Section 31 doesn't work. Great.
You know what? Speaking of another tangential point here. Speaking of things that fills me with happiness, one of the things that Terry Matalas said that actually I really very much appreciated. Everyone knows that I hate these ships. I hate them. I hate the ships, right? But
yes,
Terry Matalas, when he was talking about creating this show, he was like, we really wanted to recapture a Star Trek feeling, and we were looking at all the ships, and we looked at the ships from the TNG movies. We looked at the ships from Star Trek Online. We looked at some fan ships, and all of them were just too aerodynamic. They started to look very pointy and like very dark and sinister. Like we wanted to get back to the kind of motion picture era with circular hulls and like ships that, have a unified sort of look. I don't know if anyone else can read between the lines there, but he just shat on Johnny Eves. And that couldn't make me happier. I don't like the ships that they made, but I couldn't be happier that he shat on
just
Johnny
weirdly proportioned. I appreciate the return to the older design aesthetic, but there's weirdness.
He took what the hell's the guy's name? It's a fan. He's a very famous. He's a very famous like fandom shipbuilder. What the fuck is the guy's name? But he took this guy's ships, which look amazing in like the motion picture skin, like motion picture nacelles, motion picture saucer section, right? All of his ships look amazing. And for the future, they just upscaled them 300% and made them gray. So they're very weird looking. So the proportions don't fit.
I spent some time doing models of the ships. I'm nowhere near like your exhaustive knowledge, but the shape thing speaks to me. And one of the things I love about the refit is they put a pearlescent sort of paint to do the Aztecing of, they call that, of the panels on the outside. And so as the light goes by or you turn the camera, the color actually kind of changes. And I love that because that's kind of a future thing, right? Like whatever they made, clad the hull plating out of, it's some shit that like is like pearl on Earth. That's neat, right? And then they took all of that out of the John Eves era. I don't want to blame the one guy, but somebody's approving
at some point
they took all of that. It's like that. It just made it not look like a Starfleet ship.
Yeah.
Like, and before I get to the pointing nacelles and all that, it's just dark and grimy.
Yes.
And it's like, I think
part of Roddenberry and what's the guy's name? Jeffries. Part of Matt Jeffries' whole idea was the future ships, you don't want to be outside in space. You want to be inside doing repairs. So the skin of the ship is going to be pretty seamless. Like it's going to be, you're not going, this isn't the Millennium Falcon. You can't land and do repairs on a ship, right? These are starships. Everything needs to be accessible from the inside, right? That's why the original Enterprise is basically seamless. Like it's, there's no plating. That's why, a lot of people were mad about the the New Jersey because it has kind of like proportional plating on it, which is weird. It doesn't look right on the kind of TOS Enterprise. And that's why. That's exactly why. The motion picture versions, they do the exact same thing. It's to a lesser extent, and there's a little bit more kind of detailing, but it's the same sort of idea. You don't want to be outside doing repairs, bro. Like, what is all this crap on the hull? Get it off the hull.
That's why I love the TMP version, because it's a repeating pattern. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like you could say anything if you wanted to tell a story about it. It's like, oh, this section was grown on whatever, and maybe it is real pearl. That, you know what? But there's a consistency of design that the Eve era ships just do not.
Yeah, I feel like it's the Star Warsification of the design aesthetic, and
it is.
And there is like a morph between the Enterprise and the Millennium Falcon, right? They're both sort of like saucer based thing. Like I could see it wouldn't take much to take a Starfleet design and take just the saucer section and really Millennium Falcon the shit out of it. And that's what I imagine our pal Jack Crusher would be piloting, along with whatever, some kind of furry dog creature on his roguish adventures.
Philo T Buzzword does say, shout out to Doug Drexler on his birthday. Yes, happy birthday, Doug Drexler. Speaking of good Starship designers.
That guy's awesome. I love his, what's the calendar?
And he gets into it too.
What's the calendar he does?
Ships of the Line.
Ships of the Line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Dex on his Facebook, because like you said, he gets into it, but it's not personal attacks. He's not a bitch about it. He's not Dave Blass about it. Like, why do we know your name, Dave? I don't know.
Yeah.
But because he's like, no, this is the fucking matter antimatter intermix that has to happen. Yes. I will listen to that guy all
because on deck 12 you have to get to the isolinear tubes. Yes, exactly.
Right. Yes, he knows. He's figured it out.
This was clearly like the Geordie LaForge fans' wet dream episode. This was the one. I thought I liked half of it. Like I liked the way he wasn't deferential to Picard.
Yes,
they're more like peers. I appreciated that. I thought it was appropriate. And then behind closed doors, they're still kind of friends. So I like that. But it was just a little contrived. How did we know? Of course, we were going to get into an engineering emergency that only the LaForge mind could pull us out of, right?
Well, it's at one point you go, it's TV, right? Like I get that one. Oh, it brought us closer together, Dad. The one thing I was missing, and because it's TV, this is they have to say what this is. I'm dying to know who his wife is and the mom of the kids.
I really hope it's not Leah Brahms.
Leah Brahms. No,
I really hope it's not.
Literally anything else.
Who would
anybody else?
I don't know who that
Barclay,
is.
Lieutenant Barclay.
Yeah, Barclay would be so Leah Brahms. So in TNG episode, whatever it is, his idol is an engineer called Leah Brahms.
Yes,
and she's like a super hot chick that Geordie LaForge is like simping over. And it's like really awkward the whole time. He basically like sexually harasses her, and then he gaslights her when she calls him on it. He like gaslights her. I was just trying to be your friend, and it's bad. It's not good.
It's bad for 1989. Like,
yeah.
So
it's definitely not good for now.
Watching it now, you're like, holy shit, this is bad.
But in All Good Things, Leah Brahms is his wife, and his kids are Sydney and Alondra and some other one. I don't remember. Timothy or some shit. I don't know.
So it's a done deal then.
Yeah, but
All Good Things is not. It's an alternate universe. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Still a done deal. That's a lock.
It's an episode.
Who else would it be? And it's got to give us a nostalgia hit. So who else could it be besides like the imaginary physicist he fell in love with in the holodeck that one time? I forgot that episode.
I don't know. It could
literally
be
anyone else.
I think we're gonna see. What's his face, Julian Bashir cameo. That's what I think.
So why do you think that?
Because we're talking about the founders, and we're talking about diseases.
Yeah,
and Section 31. I think it's coming.
Okay,
I think it's coming.
Oh, dude, I would love to see Vash. Did you see this? I guess I just said
Vash should be. Yeah, Vash should be Geordie's wife.
There's an episode I watch all the time.
Yeah,
dude. That's hilarious. Yes, that's what I want now. I never would have come up, Chris. You get another Quatlu for that one. Because that kind of gets Picard a little. That hey, I stole your Lady Indiana Jones.
That would be great.
I got to get out of here pretty soon, guys. But
yeah,
I want one last hateful thing though that I've been waiting for and talking about all season. the stupid Moriarty tease. Like, I should have known just by the fact that it was in the trailer and we got this long without seeing it that it was going to be some kind of just red herring. But it was so specifically just like shoehorned into the plot in a way so they could have that moment for the trailer that I just really got mad. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, what's the point of that? That's what I was thinking the whole time. And it's not even like bring the guy in to do a particular story point, right? Like, this doesn't happen unless I do this thing, and now you got to talk me into it for a scene. That's fine, right? That's how storytelling works. But just this, like, you know, haha, look at me. Pop goes the weasel. I shot for a day and cashed my check, and it cleared. Goodbye.
Okay,
like,
and
I do that.
And also, yes, okay, and then this is also This is reminding me more hatred before we go. Is like Spiner. They're like, can you imagine? I read a thing they're talking about Spiner. He really helped me with the character, and it's like this is that actor's wet dream as a hammy over actor. Now he gets to play all his hammy overacted characters. All as one character and do like a Robin Williams rapid fire like switch up between
you're right.
His Data and his whatever. And it's like, what a tour de force by Spiner. Boo, Spiner.
If I may,
Agreed.
But again, all of this stems from the fact that Terry Matalas hated Nemesis and he didn't like the way that that Data died, and he didn't like the way the TNG crew kind of had their last goodbye. So he's trying to fix it.
All right. Way to go, Terry. I hope you pull it out.
Who the fuck am I?
At least when they made that Spiner,
who am I?
Like a reasonable facsimile of Data. Personally, I liked when they showed the Doctor, Spiner as the Doctor, and I felt like they should have just got rid of Data altogether and lore and all that stuff and concentrate on the real man who really, that is the real Data, right?
That
like
would be
make a human connection between him and Picard somehow. And then you can have flabby old Data, but they're like they have to have it both ways. They're like, he's still a robot, but he's a Picard style robot. So he's not really a robot, and he sort of ages, but not really. And he's got a robot mind, but sort of not. Like, again, compare this to the Mandalorian's last episode where we had jetpack fights and crazy creature battles and kid-friendly moments and all ages fun.
And Baby Yoda.
Jam after an episode that was like world building, really amazing world building from Mandalorian in the previous episode. It's really taken the sci-fi crown right now for me, guys. I don't see.
I agree.
Coming back.
Yeah, definitely better.
I think if I was running modern Star Trek now, I would quit. I wouldn't try to get myself a job. I would go somewhere else because it's over, man. Every time you do something, somebody else is doing it better. You had 4 years of Orville laughing at you on Thursdays. It was hilarious. Nobody talked about Star Trek when there was an Orville on.
God, I missed that show.
And now it's the same thing with Mandalorian. So, and then it's going to be something else. I don't know.
That means Larry Captain Fun is speaking the truth. He's spitting
facts.
He really is, as they say, spitting the fire, as the kids say. It's been great seeing you guys again. We doing this thing? We coming back next week again and again, or what? I think we are.
Yes, you can. It's Hotel California, man. Except it's on the holodeck and you can't leave. Every Tuesday, right?
Yeah, well,
on the internet.
To a Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And Larry, since you're chomping at the bit, where's that going to be again?
On the internet.